Palantir Conspiracies, Saruman's Alliance with Count Dooku and the Dark Lord of the Sith. Chapter 1. The Corruption of Saruman. In the 3018th year of the Third Age of Middle-earth, as the shadow of Mordor grew long across the lands, a new darkness was taking root in the heart of Isengard. The Tower of Orthanc, once a bastion of wisdom and light, now stood as a silent sentinel to its master's fall from grace.
The hour grows late.
Dar-7 Saruman the White, eldest of the Astari and head of the White Council, paced the circular chamber atop Orthanc. His robes, once pristine, now bore subtle hints of discoloration, as if reflecting the tarnishing of his soul.
Too long have I waited, bound by the chains of the Valar's will. No more, no more.
With trembling hands, he approached a velvet-draped pedestal in the center of the room. The air grew thick with anticipation, charged with an otherworldly energy.
At last, the time has come.
In one fluid motion, he yanked away the covering, revealing the smooth, dark surface of the Palantir. A seeing stone pulsed with an inner light, its depths swirling with mist and shadow.
Show me the secrets of power.
As if responding to his command, the Palantir's surface cleared. Saruman's eyes widened, reflecting the vision within, a galaxy vast beyond imagining, filled with wonders and terrors beyond the scope of Middle-earth.
By the Valar?
The vision shifted, focusing on a figure cloaked in black, wielding a blade of crimson light. The man's face was noble yet cruel, his eyes burning with ambition and power.
Who are you, wielder of such might?
Suddenly, Saruman found himself staring directly into the eyes of the mysterious figure. A voice, cultured and commanding, echoed not in his ears, but in his very mind.
I am Count Dooku, Master of the Sith, and you, Saruman the White, have much to learn about true power.
Saruman staggered back, his mind reeling from the contact. Yet even as fear gripped him, a spark of excitement ignited in his heart.
How is this possible? You speak from beyond the circles of this world. The Force knows no boundaries, Saruman. It flows through all things, binding the very fabric of existence. Even now it connects us across the vast gulf between our realms.
Days blurred into weeks as Saruman spent every waking moment communing with Dooku through the Palantir. Count's words wormed their way into the wizard's mind, planting seeds of doubt and desire.
Why settle for being a servant of the Valar when you could rule Middle-earth yourself? The Force is strong within you, Saruman. Embrace it, and nothing will be beyond your grasp. But the other wizards, the White Council, we were sent to guide, not to rule. They are relics of a dying age. You have the vision to see beyond their limitations. Join me, and together we will forge a new order across our realms.
As Saruman's corruption deepened, changes began to manifest in Isengard. The once verdant gardens withered, replaced by forges and pits. Strange creatures, twisted and malformed, began to emerge from the depths of Orthanc.
Faster, you fools! The new age will not build itself.
Orcs and goblins scurried about, constructing massive furnaces and workshops. In the deepest pits, experiments were underway, breeding a new race of warriors.
Behold, the Uruk-hai, stronger than orcs, more cunning than goblins. They will be the fist with which we shall crush all opposition.
7 miles away, in the peaceful haven of Rivendell, Gandalf the Grey sat in quiet contemplation. A shadow of unease had fallen over his heart.
Something is amiss. Saruman has not answered my messages in months.
Perhaps he is simply occupied with his studies.
The Elven Lord's voice held a note of doubt, mirroring Gandalf's own concerns.
No, this feels different. There's a darkness growing in Isengard. I can sense it.
What would you have us do?
For now, we watch and wait, but I fear the White Council may soon be called to action.
Back in Orthanc, Saruman stood before a great mirror, admiring his new raiment. Gone was the pristine white robe, replaced by a coat of many colors shimmering with an unnatural iridescence.
The time for hiding in the shadows is over. Let Middle-earth tremble before the might of Saruman of many colors.
As night fell, Saruman ascended to the pinnacle of Orthanc. There, projected from the Palantir, stood the towering hologram of Count Dooku.
You have done well, my apprentice. Are you ready to seal our pact? Yes, my master. What is thy bidding? Together, we shall bridge the gap between our worlds. You will be my hand in Middle-earth, and I shall provide you with knowledge and power beyond your wildest dreams.
Saruman knelt before the spectral image of Dooku, his eyes gleaming with fanatical devotion.
I pledge myself to your teachings, Count Dooku. May our alliance bring a new age of order to both our realms. Rise, Lord Saruman. From this day forth, you are no longer merely a wizard. You are now an acolyte of the dark side.
As their laughter echoed across the night sky, a chill wind swept through the lands of Middle-earth. In the depths of Mordor, a great lidless eye flickered with interest, sensing a new player had entered the game of power. In the days that followed, Saruman's transformation accelerated. Under Dooku's guidance, he began to tap into the dark side of the Force, melding it with his own considerable magical abilities.
I can feel it, Master. The power, it's intoxicating. Good. Channel your passion, your anger. Let it fuel your strength.
In the forges of Isengard, a new breed of weapon was taking shape. Saruman held aloft a blade that hummed with an otherworldly energy.
Behold, I have combined the arts of our worlds. This lightsaber, powered by the crystals of Middle-earth, will cut through any defense.
As Saruman's power grew, so did his ambition. He began to dispatch spies across Middle-earth, gathering intelligence on potential allies and enemies alike.
Bring me news of the Shire. I sense a power there, hidden from prying eyes.
In the dark of night, cloaked figures slipped out of Isengard, some heading towards the peaceful lands of the hobbits, others venturing into the wilds of Eriador and beyond. Meanwhile, in the galaxy far, far away, Count Dooku put his own plans into motion. In the grand chamber of his palace on Sereno, he addressed a gathering of separatist leaders.
My friends, I have discovered a new source of power that will turn the tide of this war. Soon, we shall have allies from beyond the stars themselves.
As the alliance between Saruman and Dooku solidified, the fate of two worlds hung in the balance. In Orthanc, Saruman gazed into the Palantir, his eyes reflecting the vastness of space and the unlimited potential of his newfound power.
The board is set, the pieces are moving. A new age dawns from Middle-earth, whether they wish it or not.
The Dark Alliance unfolds. Months had passed since Saruman's fateful communion with Count Dooku. The once verdant lands surrounding Orthanc now lay barren, scarred by deep pits and belching forges. Within the tower's obsidian walls, Saruman pored over ancient tomes, his fingers tracing eldritch symbols.
At last, I've deciphered the final incantation.
The wizard's staff pulsed with an otherworldly energy as he approached a shimmering portal. On the other side, the aristocratic figure of Count Dooku materialized.
Lord Saruman, your progress is most impressive. The melding of our knowledge bears fruit. Count, behold, behold.
Saruman gestured, and from the shadows emerged a creature unlike any seen in Middle-earth. It stood tall as an Uruk-hai, but its flesh gleamed with metallic implants, and its eyes glowed an unnatural blue.
Magnificent. How many can you produce? With the resources you've provided, thousands. But I require more. Then perhaps it's time we expanded our operation.
Narsovan in the depths of Isengard, legions of these new Uruk droids stood in perfect formation, their respirators hissing in unison. Saruman surveyed his army with cold satisfaction.
Soon, all of Middle-earth will bow before us.
Darth, meanwhile, across the cosmos, Count Dooku addressed the Separatist Council via hologram.
My friends, I come to you with a proposition of immense potential.
What scheme have you concocted now, Count?
Not a scheme, Viceroy, but a gateway to unlimited power and resources.
Dooku's words wove a tantalizing vision of conquest, carefully omitting any mention of Saruman or Middle-earth. The Separatists, blinded by greed, eagerly agreed to funnel more droids and weaponry through the portal. As Saruman's power grew, so did his network of spies. In the Shire, a hooded figure slipped through the shadows of Bag-En.
Master, I bring news of great import. Speak, my servant. The One Ring has been found. It's in the possession of a halfling named Frodo Baggins. Excellent. This changes everything. Alert our agents in Bree. The ring must not reach Rivendell.
Across the stars, another of Saruman's enhanced spies infiltrated the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. Its form, cloaked in both elvish glamour and Sith sorcery, moved unseen through sacred halls.
Did you feel that disturbance, Padawan? I'm not sure, Master. It felt cold. Cold, cold.
The spy slipped into the Jedi archives, its photoreceptors scanning and transmitting vast amounts of data back to Ivan Duch. In his tower, Saruman received the information, a cruel smile playing across his lips.
The Jedi are blind to the threat that grows in their midst. How fortunate for us.
As night fell over Rohan, a lone rider approached Edoras, his horse lathered and panting.
My king, an army marches from Isengard.
Impossible. Saruman is our ally.
These are no ordinary orcs, my lord. They move with unnatural precision, and their eyes glow like demon fire.
The horizon erupted in flame. The Uruk droid army had arrived, their weapons a terrifying blend of Mordor's cruelty and otherworldly technology.
Sound the alarm! To arms, Eorlingus.
As Rohan burned, Count Dooku launched his own assault galaxies away. The clone facility on Kamino found itself besieged by an armada of separatist ships.
We're under attack, but these aren't like any droids we've seen before.
Amidst the chaos of two worlds, Saruman and Dooku communed once more through the Palantir. Thereafter, a chilling harmony that echoed across dimensions.
The board is set, the pieces are moving, indeed, and soon both our realms will kneel before us.
As battles raged on distant shores and alien worlds, the Dark Alliance reveled in its first taste of true power, heedless of the forces they had set in motion, forces that would soon threaten to consume them all. Chapter 3: The Fall of Two Towers. Thunder rumbled across the sky as rain lashed down upon the battlements of Helm's Deep. The air crackled with tension, thick with the scent of fear and steel. In the distance, a vast sea of torches approached, the army of Uruk-hai, their eyes gleaming with bloodlust.
How many? Aye!
Thousands, more than we've ever faced before.
Meanwhile, in a galaxy far, far away, red blaster bolts streaked across the inky void of space. A massive droid army descended upon a Republic stronghold, their metallic forms glinting in the starlight.
This is unlike anything we've encountered. The scale of this attack.
Indeed, something far greater is at work here.
As both battles raged, a peculiar phenomenon occurred. The very fabric of reality shimmered, and suddenly Gandalf found himself face to face with a bearded man wielding a glowing blue blade.
By the Valar, who are you, strange warrior?
I am Obi-Wan Kenobi, Jedi Master, and you must be the one they called Gandalf.
The two regarded each other with a mixture of awe and wariness. Around them, the sounds of battle seemed muffled, as if they stood in a pocket between worlds.
How is this possible? What sorcery has brought us together?
Not sorcery, but the Force. I sense a disturbance, a connection between our worlds.
As they spoke, understanding dawned on both of them. Visions flashed before their eyes of Saruman and Dooku, of the Palantir and Holocrons, of two realms bound by dark ambitions.
The Palantir, Saruman, has been using it to communicate across the void.
And Dooku, he's been sharing Sith knowledge. They've formed an alliance.
With this realization, the gravity of the situation became clear. Both worlds faced a threat far greater than they had imagined.
We must act swiftly. Our forces are besieged, but if we can strike at the heart of this dark alliance...
Agreed. We must coordinate our efforts. A simultaneous assault on both Isengard and Sereno.
As quickly as it had formed, the bridge between worlds began to fade. Gandalf and Obi-Wan locked eyes, a silent understanding passing between them.
May the Valar guide your path, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And may the Force be with you, Gandalf the White.
Reality snapped back into place. Gandalf found himself once more at Helm's Deep, while Obi-Wan stood aboard a Republic cruiser that now bemoved with newfound purpose.
Tailden, we must gather the Rohirrim. Isengard must fall.
But the battle here...
Trust me, old friend, this is the key to our survival.
Masters, we must launch an immediate assault on Sereno. Dooku's stronghold holds the key to ending this war.
Kenobi, explain yourself. How can you be certain?
The Force has shown me the truth. We must act now, or all will be lost.
And so, across vast cosmic distances, two assaults began. In Middle-earth, the Rohirrim thundered across the plains towards Isengard. In the Star Wars galaxy, a fleet of Republic ships dropped out of hyperspace above Sereno.
For Rohan, for Middle-earth.
All squadrons form up. We're taking the fight to DOOKU.
As the battles unfolded, SARUMAN and DOOKU found themselves caught off guard. They had not anticipated such coordinated attacks on both fronts.
Impossible! How could they know? It matters not. Our forces are superior. We will crush them.
But even as they spoke, doubt crept into their minds. For the first time, they felt the icy grip of fear. The assaults raged on, fierce and determined. Uruk-hai, I fell before the charge of the Rohirrim, while battle droids were cut down by lightsabers and blast of fire. Slowly but surely, the tide began to turn. Atop Orthanc, Gandalf confronted SARUMAN, their staffs clashing in a dazzling display of arcane power. In Dooku's palace, lightsabers hummed and crackled as Obi-Wan engaged the Sith Lord in a deadly duel.
You were the wisest of our order, Saruman. How could you fall so far?
Fall? I have ascended, you fool. I have glimpsed power beyond your wildest dreams.
Your alliance with Saruman ends now, Dooku. Surrender, and the Council may show mercy.
Mercy? You understand nothing, Kenobi. The power we've unlocked will reshape the very foundations of the Force itself.
But even as the battles reached their crescendo, a chilling laugh echoed across both realms. The air shimmered, and a hooded figure materialized between the combatants.
How predictable you all are. Pawns, every last one of you.
SARUMAN and DOOKU recoiled in shock, realizing too late that they had been manipulated from the start. The Dark Lord of the Sith's yellow eyes gleamed with malevolent glee.
Did you truly believe you could harness such power without consequences? Fools! I am the architect of your grand designs, the puppet master pulling your strings.
With a gesture, Sidious unleashed a torrent of Force lightning, sending blundering. Gandalf and Obi-Wan found themselves in the impossible position of defending their former enemies.
We cannot allow this darkness to consume both our worlds.
Agreed. A temporary alliance, then.
As one, the four warriors turned to face the true threat. Lightsabers clashed against staffs, Force lightning crackled against ancient magic. The very fabric of reality seemed to warp and twist around them as the battle raged.
Struggle all you want. Your pitiful alliance is nothing before the power of the dark side.
But in their desperation, the unlikely allies found strength. Gandalf's staff glowed with blinding light, while Obi-Wan channeled the Force with unprecedented clarity. Even Saruman and DOOKU, faced with annihilation, fought with renewed purpose. In a final cataclysmic burst of energy, the combined power of the four warriors overwhelmed Sidious. The Sith Lord's form flickered and faded, his anguished scream echoing across dimensions before vanishing entirely. As the dust settled, Gandalf and Obi-Wan stood victorious, but at a terrible cost. The Palantir lay shattered, its connection to the Star Wars galaxy severed. SARUMAN and DOOKU, broken and defeated, awaited judgment.
The threat is ended, but at what price? How many lives were lost in this mad quest for power?
We've won the battle, but I fear the war is far from over. Sidious may be gone, but the darkness he represents still lingers.
As dawn broke over both Middle-earth and the galaxy far, far away, the survivors began the long process of rebuilding. The alliance between worlds was broken, but the memory of their shared struggle would endure, and in the shadows, unseen by all, a hooded figure smiled. The game had only just begun.